Hello, my name is Thomas Beals. I'm the athletic trainer at Lakeland College, and this is Lakers Nation.
What exactly is your job?
My job is to attend all home athletic contests as well as the practices that are held on campus. I attend those in case of injury, and in the event of an injury, I evaluate the injury and decide what the best course of action is. And then in the other hours, when we're not holding practices, we work to either prevent or rehabilitate those injuries.
How long have you worked for Lakeland College?
This is my 4th year at Lakeland College, so I started in the fall of 2006.
Are there players who require special attention?
Yeah. Depending on the situation, there are some players that just come in and get taped for more preventative type situations. There are other players. We have one of the female basketball players that's been out several weeks actually, and we meet on a daily basis, do rehabilitation exercises, different drills to assess her level of capability, that type of stuff. So there are some athletes that will go the whole year and never need any type of special attention. There are some then that get daily attention.
Is there a sport in particular that gives you more work?
Of the sports that we have on campus here, basketball, both men's and women's, are probably the highest incident because there is quite a bit of contact. Even though basketball is considered a non-contact sport, there is quite a bit of contact, and it's a very athletic and dynamic activity. So there's a lot of jumping, a lot of ankle sprains that result from landing awkwardly, that type of stuff. So I'd say basketball is probably my highest incidence sport.
So what are the most common injuries?
For the basketball in particular, probably ankle injuries are most common. And again, it's just because there's so much stop and start, change of direction, jumping and landing. It's pretty frequent for them to step on each other's feet. For the throwing sports, baseball and softball, obviously a little bit more geared towards shoulder and elbow type of injuries. For our volleyball players, we see some lower extremity, ankle, knee type of stuff, but surprisingly the most common thing for them is back trouble from their serving and striking the ball at the net. They arch their backs quite a bit to gain momentum to strike the ball, and so that energy transfers to their low back, and actually we see quite a bit of injury there.
What would be the most interesting injury that you've seen in your career?
Well, unfortunately, when you start to talk about interesting injuries, a lot of times they get a little bit graphic. We haven't had too many significantly kind of gory injuries here, but when I was in undergrad, I traveled with our track team to Southern Illinois, and we had a long jumper who, I guess kind of short version of the story, he had a injury where as he struck the plate to jump, his spikes on his track shoes gripped awkwardly, his lower leg rotated, and he actually had a fracture of his tibia while he was running, and of course running into a sand pit. So he fell forward, had an injury where the bone actually broke through the skin, and he was laying in the sand. So that was a bad injury to deal with.
I read that you were yourself an athlete here at Lakeland College. Can you tell me more about this?
I was a baseball player here at Lakeland longer ago than I care to admit, but I did play for 2 years. I was an infielder, and I pitched some, although infield was my primary position. Coach Creek was the coach at the time, so he was actually the first baseball coach Lakeland had and the longest tenured, and they're now, with Tony in his first year, they're only on the 3rd coach in the history of Lakeland College. So.
And you received the All-American recognition, is that right?
I was an academic All-American, correct, yep.
At that time, did you ever consider a career in baseball?
Well, I considered it. Unfortunately, not many other people considered it. But yeah, that was one of the, I guess, crossroads in my life, leaving Lakeland College and trying to decide whether to pursue a baseball career or whether to grow up. And I ended up growing up. So I went on to Indiana State University, who has a very good athletic training program. I just ran into a situation where the schools that wanted me to play baseball didn't have a good athletic training program, and the places that did have a good athletic training program really didn't want me to play baseball. So,
Coach Johnson, you at least have an intense way about bench coaching. And I've been to enough games to see that. But a lot of fans that they're at the game, that's their only look at you.
Mm-hmm.
What should people know about Coach Johnson other than just seeing the intensity on the bench that might give them a better idea of what kind of person you are?
Well, my wife always tells me that she doesn't really know that person during the game because probably I'm the total opposite off the court. I'm a pretty laid-back, pretty easygoing person off the court. I'm just once that game starts, I'm a pretty highly competitive person. And as an athlete, when I played, I don't know if I was that intense because as an athlete, you have a little bit more control over the game. As a coach, you have many people think you have a lot of control over the game, but really it's minimal. I mean, the athletes are the ones who are going to determine the game.
Right.
And so in some sports, some of that competitiveness, I think, comes out of just a lack of control of the situation.
Now, you can prepare them once they hit the court. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
Is that, and this is not just you, it's just from a standpoint of all coaching, then, is this where you think where a lot of frustration comes in from any coach on the bench, is that trying to get a communication out on the court, you don't have much time?
Right, and it's a lot about, we take a lot of pride in preparation, and when I see our preparation kind of disappear, I think that is frustrating as a coach. Because, you want your kids to be successful, not for you, but for them. And when you prepare them for a long period of time and then we don't really use the aspects that we prepare with, that can be quite frustrating.
Okay, but now the Lady Lakers also, they do a lot of good things on the court. What I wanted to ask you is who has played beyond your expectations this season or recently?
I think recently Lindsay Woody has really contributed. The other night she had a double-double with 10 points and 10 rebounds. Lindsay Ward, her defensive rebounding has been very, very consistent. She had 10 boards again the other night, and I think every one of them was a defensive rebound. So from that aspect, I'm really impressed with her play. Jenna Spitz has been asked a lot this year to move to the point guard spot, a position she's never played. So that's a tremendous change for someone. I always tell people, in football, it's like going from running back to quarterback because there's a big difference. And I've been real pleased with her play this year and how she's handled that transition. And Casey Kinsler has really played well up until she's had a little bit of struggle the last 3 or 4 games, but for the most part, she was our most consistent player in the first about 15 to 20 games.
Mm-hmm. And now a player that, from what I've witnessed on the court, unless I'm missing something, she's been a little under the radar, and then last couple games, there she is in your face, Sarah Serber.
Yeah, Sarah is a tremendous offensive player. Sarah has the ability to come off the bench and give us a lot of points in a short period of time. She's a very good three-point shooter. She's worked hard at her dribble drive game this year and added to it, and we worked on her aggressiveness in that term. So, yes, from an offensive standpoint, Sarah's done an outstanding job for us. And I think defensively she's working on her game. We demand a lot out of our players defensively, and she's starting to understand those demands, and I think making progress toward those.